Hello, welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing podcast, where me, Tom Stanley, is joined by Sam Turner and Michael Deasy to talk all things horse racing. This weekend, well, we're saying goodbye to Royal Ascot. That's gone. But as I was talking to Don McLean in our Matchbook Racing review about, I said, what is it again this weekend? He said it's the small matter of the Irish Derby. So we've got more classics on the way. But first things first, Deasy, you were saying that you've got a big cricket bet this weekend.
I'm all over India in the outright and against England. I think that they're just nailed on to absolutely hockey. No, that's the wrong term. What's the cricket term?
It was going well, Deasy. It was going well for a bit, Sam, wasn't it? He had us all convinced, but he wouldn't be a cricket fan.
He sort of lost it after he said India. The statistical analysis just went out of the window after that. The appraisal of the vital game on Sunday between England and India, Edgbaston, the hotbed of English cricket.
I think the wickets are turning in favour of India at the moment. No, I mean,
are they? Yeah, good.
I think what you're trying to say, Deasy, is the wickets are turning more, which will suit India. But you got
all the right words, Deasy, but not necessarily in the right order.
Oh, good stuff. We were talking cricket before we went on air, and Deasy wouldn't be the biggest cricket fan, but he is a racing fan, which is good news. And it is the Irish Derby this weekend, and I suppose we know a lot about the runners, given that a few of them matched up at Epsom just a few weeks back. But does the market, Deasy, have it? We're back on track now. Have it that the Epsom winner is going to go and do it again at the Curragh? What does the market think, first of all?
Okay, so Anthony Van Dyke, the Epsom winner, is top of the market at 2.1. You have Mad Moon, who's half length second, is 3.55. Broom is 3.85, and then it's big prices. The rest, Rakan is 17.5, and everything else is 25 to 40s.
Just on your view, Deasy, with regard to how you'd have it, can you see that the second Kevin Prendergast Mad Moon reversing that form, or would you want to side with the horse at the top of the market? Plenty have done the English-Irish Derby double. They tend to be pretty good ones when they do that. Is it a case of this favourite can, do you think, or would you be looking elsewhere?
I think he can, yeah. I was going through this now. I thought Mad Moon had run at the Curragh before. I was kind of hoping that the Curragh might suit him better, but this is actually his first run at the Curragh. All his runs have been at Leopardstown in Ireland. Anthony Van Dyke has won at the Curragh. He's come second at the Curragh. I think he's fairly solid, but again, it's not a race I'd be having a huge bet on, because I'd love to see Mad Moon win. I think he was quite unlucky at Epsom, and Anthony Van Dyke obviously got a great run through, but I think he's well worth his place top of the market. I'd say he'll go off shorter as well. I think he'll probably be. I could see him going off at 1.8 or something around that on the day. So 2.1 might be a bit of value at the moment.
Sam, knowing you as I do, can I hazard a guess as to what you might say about the market, and then you can prove me completely wrong? I wonder if you're going to approach it from the angle that if you ran the Derby again, you might get a different result, and therefore the short price about Anthony Van Dyke is worth taking on with something a little bit bigger, perhaps one of those two that finished in behind him at Epsom. Am I wrong?
I think that's a very good point, Tom, because I think there was mitigating circumstances for Mad Moon. He came down the hill, he stumbled, and he hadn't got the experience of contesting that type of track that Anthony Van Dyke had managed to gather at Lingfield. I think that helped him out quite a lot. The fact that he'd been, around a track undulating such as that, a switchback track like Lingfield, Epsom, he coped with very well. And I thought both of them did a fair bit wrong through the race and didn't get the clearest of passages through. But at the line, Anthony Van Dyke is hitting the line so strongly that I have to envisage that the same result's going to happen again. And the fact is, I think it's a really valid point that Anthony Van Dyke's been to the Curragh a couple of times, whereas Mad Moon's yet to tackle it. Also, Kevin Prendergast's horses are a little bit quiet at the moment. It's a small sample size, admittedly, but there's been about a dozen horses in the last couple of weeks. A couple of shortish prices in there which haven't managed to get the job done. And Anthony Van Dyke has only had 2 runs this year. I know you say, well, he's been to a Derby trial and he's won the Derby and everything that takes out of them, the trip to Epsom, etc. But we're seeing that race work out quite well at the moment. Obviously, he's produced a St James's Palace winner. Japan was tremendously impressive as well at Royal Ascot. So it's starting to stack up quite nicely. The time figure suggested it was good. And at the line, Anthony Van Dyke, well, say you got another 100 yards, he's probably going to go and win by 2 lengths rather than half a length. So I think he's a difficult favourite to take on, as much as that's the way that I like to look at races and try and take on a shorty like him. I'm finding it difficult to take him on because he's got the course form, he's trained by a genius. They've got 5 in the race. They're going to obviously dictate how the paces run and tactically how it's going to work out. And he's still got plenty of progression at him. You know, we're seeing his graph go pretty markedly upwards. And, you know, his second best career performance came at the Curragh as well when he was second to Quarto. He superseded that at Epsom with a stylish effort there, and was going on at the line. So I see no reason why he can't confirm placings himself.
Yeah, I approached it wanting to take him on ultimately with something in behind. The horses I could find excuses for in the Derby were Mad Moon, given the points that you discussed. James Willoughby, our Racing TV colleague, as well, has argued already, and I think quite rightly, that he may have emerged the best horse in the race, if you like, on the day. But I take the point about Anthony Van Dyke still having improvement possibly. He came on an absolute bundle for the Lingfield run. There's still a chance he might come on again for his run in the Derby. And also, I can't get out of my head that Shamie Heffernan, after the race, he was asked if he felt at any point that he was in trouble, and he said, honestly, no. I felt pretty much once I turned the corner that at every point that I was going to win the race, and that sort of confidence after the race, I'm finding it really difficult to take him on. I want to, but if I'm looking to and still can't, it probably says that he's a decent enough favourite, to be honest.
Because he gave Broome a couple of lengths start, didn't he? And Broome, for me, looks more like a Sir Ledger horse in waiting, really. He's just a galloper, whereas Anthony Van Dyke had just got that little bit of injection of pace, that little acceleration, which got him out of trouble because Shamie had to sit and wait just behind horses at one point, sort of between the 3 and the 2. But then once he saw a bit of daylight and dived to the inside, which isn't always the place to be at Epsom, he's quickened and lengthened really well and got the race won in a matter of strides, really. So I thought that was impressive, the way that he hit the line that day. And as I say, he's drawn quite nicely. He's in the middle of the pack in 4. He's not on the wing or on the inside where he could find trouble. So Ryan Moore can ride a race from that point on. And as I say, they're going to dictate tactics as well, you would imagine. So he looks pretty bomb-proof.
Is there... Go on.
Famous last words.
Famous last words about a horse that's now on even money, I know. Is there anything at a bigger price that we could find that would be interesting? Il Paradiso with cheap pieces on for the first time, I thought, who won first up, I thought would improve for that, given that they tend to. He's got form with Circus Maximus at the start of his career. He started things very late last year. Trippy Proo wasn't a problem, but I don't know how they're going to use him in the race, and that's what's clouding my judgment a bit with a lot of the Aidan O'Brien horses at bigger prices, for example.
Yeah, I think the one that I'd be half interested in to run into a place at a big price would be Norway, possibly, with the cheap pieces back on. I know he got swept.
Was he not disappointing at Ascot? Yeah,
no cheap pieces, 1 mile and 6. They dropped him out and he sweated up badly. So I think those are mitigated circumstances. I thought he was, of all the horses that sort of ran okay at Epsom out of the Derby, I thought he emerged with a little bit of credit because he was right on that speed, which was pretty brutal. And not many of those horses that were in the first 4 sort of turning for home, finished within half a dozen lengths of the winners, or the place horses as well. So I thought that was a fair enough run for him. I thought the soft ground, perhaps at Ascot, 1 mile and 6, no cheap pieces, and a change of tactics. He just didn't fire for whatever reason. He got warm and edgy. Now it's only 10 days on, but it is, he is going to be sort of 34 and bigger, you would think, on the exchanges. And if it's a dead 8, I've still got in my mind that he was a little bit unlucky at Chester, where Sir Dragaday swept past him, and the time figure for that race suggested that it was form perhaps worth following. So back on a decent surface with the cheap pieces back on, he might get beat 5-6 lengths, but he might just fall into third at a big price.
Yeah. Is there any 34 or so knocking around for Norway, Deasy, or is that where is he at the moment?
Norway is 25.0, but I'd say you could definitely get 34 on the day. I'd say he'll probably just out. Just funny you mentioned Il Paradiso, Tom, because he was the only one I had actually ruled out, because I saw a story there last night that John Magner put him in because he wanted there to be the dead 8 for each way betting in the race for punters. So he was doing.
I love a bit of giving back in this game.
Yeah, bless him.
Yeah,
he's all sentiment, isn't he, John?
They only had 4 going in at the start. He said they'd throw in another one just to make it good for the people who go to the Curragh and Saturday. So I'd rule it Paradise out. But he had a bit. He's a nice bit of farmer, right? And he was behind Harpo Marks, your tip for the Queen's Vase, and he didn't run a bad race at Ascot. So you know,
he didn't get placed, did he? But yeah.
No, he didn't have it. He ran fine for a 40.0 shot or something. Outran his odds, I think.
Great, exactly. As long as you beat the market, doesn't matter, does it, Sam? That's it.
All about the value. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't eat value, Tom, can you? But it is hard to battle, obviously.
Good start. I mean, to be honest, we're all relatively not necessarily wanting to take on the favourite Anthony Van Dyke. I think that's fair to say as far as the Irish Derby goes. The big betting heat of the weekend, the big handicap heat of the weekend is the Northumberland Plate up at Newcastle. What about the top of the market? First of all, Roger Varian horse right at the top of the market, Deasy, for the Northumberland Plate.
Oh yeah, he's well clear. Gibbs Hill is 5.1. Bit of money then overnight for Stratham. We're starting to see some of that. He's into second favourite at 9.0. Last year's winner with Hall is 9.8. Then you have King's Advice and Proshima at 12.0. Bartholomew Diaz and Dubois 50 are 14.0. Red Galileo is on his own at 15.0. And then you have Time to Study, Austrian School, Speedo Boy, and Who Dares Wins at 17.0. Bigger prices than the rest.
It's one of those 17.0 shots in the form of Time to Study, who I half fancy for the race. So I thought ran really well at Ascot last time, and is a horse who I followed throughout last season, really, where he just didn't progress for Mark Johnson off the back of what was a really good 3-year-old season. And I wonder if in those handicaps where he wasn't getting the 3-year-old allowance, he just didn't go on. But he started to show signs of form for Ian Williams. I think it won't be long before he gets the best out of him. And I'm a big fan of Kerrin McAvoy, who I think is a really interesting thing, who's had a really good start to his campaign over here. And also, I think the fact that he's been riding in the Southern Hemisphere, particularly in these longer distance races, these jockeys, they save a bit of ground when they've been riding over there. And I think he's well worth having on side. So I'm going to back Time to Study, one of about 5 I could have backed in the race, but I think he's a fair price, 17.0. Sam, what do you think?
Well, he certainly hit the front in the Ascot Stakes and just looked as though the 2.5 mile found him out a little bit on that ground, didn't it? So I thought that was a perfectly good run. It's probably the first time this season, be careful, I would say. Well, to be fair, he'd only run once, and that was obviously in a bottomless Chester Cup. But it's probably the first time he was put into a race with any great chance of winning at Ascot. Admittedly, he ran in the mile and a quarter race at Lingfield as well early on in the year. He hadn't got a chance in that behind Wizard Hicken, and that was just a run to get him going. So I think he's very, very much a player. Obviously ran in the race last year. Probably wasn't suited by the way the race was run, with obviously the winner getting loose on the lead and booting clear in the straight. The interesting thing about Roger Varian's yard, it turned into it's an amalgamation of Barney Curley and any other of the biggest gambling stables you've ever found in the last week. Obviously, Kate Byron's gone 12 into 4 to win the Workingham, and Gibbs Hill, I think they're just pushing.
15 minutes for bringing that up, Sam. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. It was my only winner last week. I was surprised I haven't got a Kate Byron t-shirt, to be fair.
This was Sam's big Ascot bet, and he did talk about it on the on our preview we did a few weeks ago when asked. We each gave a handicapper, and you said in no uncertain terms this was the one. I think it was about 13.0 when you said that, and it caught it in price duly. So there you go. Well done, mate. But yeah, it's a point you pick up, actually, isn't it? That got very well back, didn't it?
Well, I think they've just got all the chips from that and pushed them back in for Gibbs Hill here, because obviously he makes plenty of appeal from sort of a profile point of view. He's obviously been in work a while. I mean, I know he's been off 724 days, but I think that's just that's just a number, basically. That's what I tell everyone with my upcoming birthday on the horizon. It's just a number. And it's the same with Gibbs Hill. He's probably a good deal fitter than I am, and he's probably been in work a lot longer as well. And he's got a bit of class about him. So you can understand why he sort of migrated towards the top of the market. But 4-1 in a race of this nature for a horse that, I know he's been round the track, but he's sort of untested over this trip. He's entitled to be a bit ring rusty and sluggish out the gates as well. There's just a few sort of negatives really, which would put me off betting him at that price. If you've got the big prices about him, then good luck, you know. But 4-1 or 5.0 for me is just too much on the tight side. I'm going to take a little bit of a chance, if I may, with Bartholomew Diaz, who's a horse that I've got a good bit of time for. Obviously, he won that valuable handicap around Easter time here over 1.5 miles, and he's got to stretch out to 2 miles and do it over this trip at a decent pace, you would think. But the thing I do like about him, he's got plenty of course knowledge. He's got plenty of synthetic surface knowledge as well. I was quite taken with him at Newcastle back in the spring because he sat on the speed that day, and I don't think that's always the way to ride this track. I think sometimes you're a lot better off just sitting off the pace and picking up late in the straight here. But I was really impressed with what he found all the way to the line that day, and the races worked out pretty well. Obviously, Baghdad was in it, and any number of other winners, Tom. So I think at the prices, I'll take a bit of a chance with him.
Bartholomew Diaz, who is a course winner for Charlie Hill's previously. Is he one of the likely pace angles in the race, and you're happy with that?
Well, I wouldn't have thought he'd be ridden quite so aggressively in this race. I mean, he was, as I say, he sat pretty prominent in that Easter handicap, but you know, he doesn't necessarily have to be ridden that aggressively. I'd just like to see him on the speed without actually making it. I think there's 1 or 2 others in here that perhaps take him along at a good lick. You know, obviously Mark Johnson's got a few drawn out wide that are probably going to go and try and press the pace, and at least Bartholomew Diaz is quite nicely positioned and situated in his stall's berth, and he's just a horse I've had on my mind for a race of this nature for a good while. I liked him when I saw him down at Wolverhampton back in his early stages of his career, and he just looks at just a really likeable galloping stayer.
Around about 17.0 then for my shout, time to study. 15.0 for Bartholomew Diaz. Deas, could you side with Gibbs Hill now gelded, 724 days off and hammered in the betting? Are you looking at bigger prices?
I wouldn't touch him. 5.1 is like as Sam said, if you got the big prices, brilliant. But not the price he is now. I'd say he'd go off bigger. I'd say that could have been, you know, the way Antipost Marcus scored, there could have been a small bit of money when trying to big prices, and they just started cutting, and it snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. I've a hard time coming down on one for this race because I do like Bartholomew Diaz. I'm very interested in Stratham as well. Considering the money is coming from now, he was 12.0 I think 2 days ago. Now he's into 9.0. I think he's probably the pick of the Tony Bloom runners. But the one I'm going to go for Ian Williams' other horse. I'm going to go for Speedo Boy. I think that there was a very good heat there between Speedo Boy, Red Galileo, and Proshima at Newmarket there over 1 mile 6 a few weeks ago. And I thought Speedo Boy ran very well. He came from further back than the other two. He's due to go up 2 pounds. So he's 2 pound well in here. He's out of stall 13 as well, which I think is a positive. I think kind of want to be drawn wide. And Ian Williams as well is in top form at the moment with these kind of staying races. So I'm going to go for Speedo Boy, 17.0.
I love Speedo.
Can I just say, Tom, breaking news, Withhold is out the race. Breaking news to us, but it won't be to people who are watching this a little bit later down the line. But
you may have broken that news to them, Sam, but you've broken it to us. Finger on the button. You still got that journalistic feel for everything you do. I love
Not really. I was just looking for him in the betting and he wasn't there, so it's no biggie. Trust me.
That's all those prices gone out the window there now, was it?
What price was he?
He was 9.8. He was fairly solid in the market. No, he'd been second favourite all week. Stratham had kind of overtaken him this morning, but he was 9.8. So yeah, he was. I thought he was brilliant last year. I didn't have enough on him last year. Phyllis texted me saying get as much as you can on him, and on his small banana, and he won it at his ease. I presume this was going to be the starting point for the Melbourne Cup later in the year or something like that, but.
Well, I don't think he's not very keen on going back there, is he? Sorry, Tom.
After bursting the blood vessel, possibly.
Does it change the shape of the race that slightly, guys? I mean, it does a little, does it not? Or I mean, I suppose he wasn't going to be the main bit of pace necessarily.
Well, he wasn't much pace last year, was he? Really, he was allowed to dawdle around for 1.5 miles and then kick in the straight. So, hopefully that withdraws You know, one horse that could perhaps dominate a modest gallop, if anything. But yeah, I think there's one or two here that would probably want to get on with it. As I say, those two Mark Johnson horses drawn sort of wide in 16 and 19, I would imagine they'd try and get out and be handy, and that can sometimes lead a little bit of a pace rush for the front, can't it, with the inside berths trying to hold their position as well. So I'd be surprised if it was a dawdle like last year, but you never can tell.
Well, you mentioned Austrian School, who comes out at 19, Making Miracles out at 16. They're likely pace anglers. I was very interested in Austrian School under Sylvester de Souza. I still think he could actually be fairly handicapped off 110, but the draw wasn't ideal. But you talked about these maybe wanting to be wide. Where do we fit on if, does it depend on the horse, or ultimately where would you want to be drawn, Sam? Would you not want to be too wide? Would you want to be berthed with a chance, if you want to get handy, to just be a little bit further in?
I think looking at the stalls position, there's been a couple of wide ones in recent years, and I suppose since this has gone to a synthetic surface, it hasn't really mattered quite so much. It used to be massive low, didn't it? Single figure numbers were really well favoured, but perhaps synthetic wise, you perhaps get less horses that want to go and make the running, especially over Newcastle, which has become on that round track almost like a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. That those front runners that have tried there have found it an awful long way home from the bottom of the straight, and you know, it's put people off trying, I think. Although just in recent times there's been one or two. Obviously Bartholomew Diaz in that Easter handicap was pretty handy. Obviously last year's winner made all, but they're quite isolated in circumstances, really, instances that, you know, you don't often see many horses make all round there in modest races, in the quarter mile and a half races. It pays to sit off the pace. We saw another example of it yesterday, where Charlie Fellows took over from Jeremy Nasida, was sat last and scrubbed along coming out the back straight, and then picked up and as all the front runners died, and you know, also cut their own throats at the head of affairs. So that happens time and time again there, really, from you know, from my instances, looking at the races and betting and tipping in them. I would certainly look away from something that wants to be pretty aggressively ridden. I think it's a big ask over 2 miles there.
Dees, you got anything to add on that, or can we kick on?
Okay, we can kick on. Happy enough for that, chat.
Good man. Right, what we're going to discuss now is one race each that we wanted to pick out from the weekend, because there's so many we could have discussed. Sam, we'll start with you if you can.
All right.
You made a handicap, is that right?
Yes, the opening race at Newcastle, I think Air Raid, who's a progressive. Air Raid, a progressive 4-year-old, is probably going to be favourite. I mean, Deasy will probably tell us, but he's very much on the upgrade. Drawn 3, you'd expect him to be there and thereabouts at the head of the market, along with Dalton. But I like a horse that's been off the track for a while here, Nick Vedder, who has got a very consistent profile at the track. I was totting them up. I think there's 10 starts at Newcastle, yet to be out of the 3. That is still 2 o'clock tomorrow, obviously. But he's a horse that invariably saves his best for Newcastle. Andrea Rezzini booked. He goes very well fresh. He's been off for 4 months. I think there's a lot of positives for his chance here. I think, you know, 6 off a good gallop at Newcastle, absolutely perfect for him. And I do think he's feasibly handicapped. So hopefully he might be double figures, I think, in that race tomorrow.
That is the opener at Newcastle. Over 6 furlongs. Deasy, have you got any prices for that? Is he going to be double figures, Nick Vedder?
He is just about. He's 10.0 at the moment, but that's an early enough market, so that might develop. You might get a bit bigger.
Yeah, Air Raid is, as you say, is likely to head that by the looks of things.
Yeah, he's got the market at 4.5.
That Cosmic Law at York, I did personally, and last I thought he showed up well for a long way, but it wasn't to be. Talking of York over 6, there, the one I wanted to look at was the 245 at York. This is a straight handicap over 6 furlongs. Just on the draw, much of the pace is down the middle, so you might want to be there. The 3 horses I wanted to pick up on basically all ran in the Wokingham 7 days ago. Intisab is a horse I backed on that occasion. He ran well for a long way. He's a course and distance winner, and he's got a £10 reversal with Soldier's Minute. Looking at how the race is likely to work out, though, I thought Soldier's Minute is shaping up to be a big price. I don't think Ascot suits at all, but he's £7 higher than for his course and distance win, where he won by 3 lengths. He fairly bolted up on that occasion. And for all there is pace down the middle, I'm still not certain you're going to want to come from miles back, which is for all I want to keep Intisab on side, I think Soldier's Minute may well confirm that form. So I'm going to back him. But the other one I think is well worth a bet at the price is this Sir Maximilian, who was a winner at Doncaster a couple of starts ago. He wouldn't have won by any stretch. He probably wouldn't have finished in the places in the Wokingham, but he was beaten 7 lengths. He got stopped 3 times up the standside rail where the race just developed out towards the middle. But I think he's proving that 6 suits. This 6 will suit him here. I think he's well drawn down the middle, and you get a chunky double figures about him. I think he's still a well-treated horse off £3 higher than his Doncaster win. So the main player be Sir Maximilian. I think he's well worth a bet. Hopefully around about 17.0, if not bigger on the day. And I'll chuck a bit behind Soldier's Minute as well. Can you type any of those prices, Dees, for me?
Again, this is a very early market now, Tom. So Soldier's Minute is 11.0, Intisab is 13.0, and Sir Maximilian is 20.0 at the moment.
There you go. So Sir Maximilian, I think, is well worth a play. And I think I'm hoping you'll get a bit bigger than Soldier's Minute after his disappointing run last time, but I could find excuses for him. But if I only had one, I think I'm a big fan of Sir Maximilian. I think this will really suit him, this test that he's going to be provided with on Saturday afternoon. He's
you
only
like these easy races, Tom, don't you?
Sorry, say again.
You like these easy races, don't you? I think it'd be more straightforward trying to explain the rules of cricket to Dees than trying to pick the winner of this race.
We could have a go at that at the end. I know it's not easy, is it? But this is, you're getting decent prices around about them. So he's not run at the track, I don't think, for 6 years, Sir Maximilian. But
he's older than me.
What's that?
He's older than me.
Nearly. Well, it's your big 3-0 coming up soon, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That 40, Tom. Steady. Don't overrate it.
Yeah, don't flatter too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the one you wanted to look at?
Right that way.
Oh, sorry, Sam, go.
No, sorry, Dees, you far on.
Oh, I have my one is going to start the weekend off great because it's actually on tonight. It's Rise Hall in the last race at Newmarket. Now, I saw this horse. He ran. What's there now? It was I'm just getting up here in front of me. He won at Nottingham in April, and it was his first run after being gelded for Martin Mead, and he absolutely bought it up. He came from the very back of the field, finished very strongly. But what kind of stuck out to me was that he ran on, I'd say, for another mile after the race. He kept on going. He's gone up 3 pounds since then. He's up in trip now again. He's up to 1 mile 2 today. I think he has a good bit up his sleeve, and he's currently second favourite at 4.0. I can see, and there's a bit of money from him. He was actually 5.0 when I was looking at it about a half an hour ago. So there's a bit of money coming from him. So I will be having a bet on him in the last race at Newmarket to fill up the coffers for this weekend. Rise Hall.
Rise Hall, that is Friday night. So if you listen to this on Saturday morning, if it hasn't won, just hurl abuse at Dees for the fun of it. Yeah. If it has, please send in congratulations. But that's Rise Hall tonight to hopefully bolster those banks before we play this Saturday afternoon. Have we got a best bet, anyone? Best bet of the weekend, Sam?
I'll go with Nick Vedder each way. He's a horse that's very solid at the track over course and distance. It looks to have been laid out for the race as well. I quite like Michael Wiggum. He often targets these Newcastle handicaps. There's another horse that he had whose name escapes me that won off a break here probably in the last 12 months in quite a competitive handicap as well, and used to run really well at the track. So they booked Andrea Rizzini. I can't believe he's just going up there for a day out.
Nick Vedder at Newcastle. What about you, Dees? If you had to have one arrow this weekend,
I'd go at Rise Hall in the race tonight at Newmarket, the last race at Newmarket.
And I will go with Time to Study, definitely in the place market. I think that run was so full of promise last time, and I think Ian Williams is going to get the best out of him. Good stuff, lads. Thank you very much indeed. Sam, I'll chat to you again soon. I'll see you soon, no doubt. Happy birthday. When is the big day?
September.
All right. Oh, he's gone early then.
Yeah. Ages. Well, it's surprising how quickly it comes round, Tom, when you get to my age. I tell you, they whistle round, mate.
You're a Libra, are you, Sam?
Virgo, but it's only a rumour, Tom.
See, I'm late September and a Libra, and I thought I'd say there you go.
I'm September as well. I'm the start of September. I'm a Virgo too.
What? This is beautiful. We're all 3 of us. It should just be called the September podcast.
September.
All our parents were busy at Christmas there, whatever year we were born.
We can following that. Following it.
seeing as mine is the 25th, that tells you that it was a lively Christmas, and now I'm never going to enjoy Christmas quite the same again. Thanks, Dees. Happy weekend.
Just quick while we're behind, Tom. Quick.
That's it for this week's Matchbook Racing podcast. Good luck where and when you're playing this weekend, and we'll chat to you again next week. Bye all. Bye for now. See you soon. And I'm going to have nightmares.